I'm Isabel Drobny, and this is Mike Wemhoff, and today we'll be talking about why John Deere.
So, I mean, it's very important, Isabel, that as we look at every acre of land, we have a major problem today where population is increasing, but the valuable land is decreasing, or the farmable land is decreasing. So, that's an agriculture problem that we're trying to deal with. Technology is really a way that we can combat some of those problems to make every acre more efficient. I think what we want to talk about here today is just why would we trust John Deere to solve this problem? And, what are the types of capabilities that John Deere provides? When I think about it, it's the integrated technology that's on the equipment and the seamless transition of that data between those pieces of equipment certainly help in the field. But then also when we get out of the field, making sure that as we plan for next year, that we look at every single acre as an opportunity to be more effective, more efficient. And then in turn, what that's going to do is also help a grower's organization become more valuable and profitable because they are at that point making more money and they're able to produce more with every acre. A lot of exciting things to do here at John Deere and here at 21st Century. But no better piece of equipment than a green piece of equipment to do that.
Yeah. No, and I think it's also very valuable that John Deere also recognizes the changes that need to come in the future as our world is changing. I mean, even this year, the weather has been so out of the ordinary for everyone, and we don't really know what that's going to continue to look like we've experienced lots of rain here in Colorado, that John Deere is just recognizing that our world is changing and we need to change with it to be able to fuel and feed everything and everyone around us.
What's one of the things that you've seen that maybe has changed that, an example of what would make a farmer more efficient, make every acre more efficient?
I think just decreasing the amount of time and how much we're relying on our eyes, just utilizing technology to be even more precise than you were before is something that's super important, just to maximize the space on your fields, because you can get down to setting the exact lines to make sure you're going along with your plan, especially as, like you said, land that is available is decreasing, making sure that we're utilizing as much space as we can that's farmable to produce more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think autonomy starts to play into this too when you think about having a work plan that comes into a field, understanding how if you're decreasing the amount of workers needed to produce, that's more efficient for the organization, but also more efficient for the land as well. Making sure that we know what's going to happen to every single acre, and that can be predictable. I think predictability is a big part of this to make sure that we're maximizing land. And again, John Deere equipment is perfectly set up to do that. Through a push towards some autonomy, push towards technology to leverage that technology and making sure that it is predictable and we know what's going to happen, or at least we can make educated decisions on even next year. Yeah,
and just predicting as much as we can, because obviously, there's been a lot of hail or fields flooding, and those are things that you can't predict, but at least the rest of your space that wasn't affected was predicted to the most of its ability to really get as much yield as possible. In your experience, where do you think there are areas that could be utilized more, or even growth, or where you might see Deere might shift towards in the future?
Sure. I think there's a lot of room for growth in the specialty crops area. John Deere technology and John Deere equipment does a really good job with row crops and those pieces. And we are definitely seeing improvements in the specialty crop area. But I think that's a next evolution is really looking at how we measure those specialty crops. How do we measure, especially, down here in Colorado, alfalfa and wheat, some of those other kind of non-row crop, traditional crops that you'd see to the east of where we're at. I think that's important for us to continue as 21st Century to continue to promote those avenues of technology for our growers.
And what are some pieces of technology that really stick out to you?
Something that certainly sticks out to me, my background is in the software side of things. So I gravitate towards that because the value of the data that's coming off of the machines. And so the pieces that really stick out to me is that those data points that come off of the field. And again, when we think about like specialty crops, those types of opportunities are big for us to really understand how do you measure yield on different crop types and how do you measure productivity of an acre, right? So those are really important for us to really look at how we can measure those and then produce those value add outcomes.
Well, even like with the See and Spray, like I've only seen it in person once. I was kind of watching everyone set up a trial field, and walking in the field after the machine went through, it's just crazy that the cameras can identify the weeds or whatever you're setting for it to spray and hit those exact points. And I think that's obviously something that's newer in the Deere technology that they're producing, and just getting that to a more advanced level, or even just seeing more people adopt it and how they can decrease the amount of fertilizer that they're using or chemical or however they're using the machine to decrease costs. I thought that was fascinating, and I forgot how many cameras there were exactly, but that was very interesting. I mean, do you have much experience with that? Or
well, so something else that comes to my mind is the ExactShot. So that's a newer technology by John Deere where it's feeding fertilizer to an individual seed and ultimately decreasing those input costs. And that's where technology can really help increase those yield and decrease those input costs. John Deere really continues to evolve with things like See and Spray and now ExactShot, where they're looking at how do I maximize every acre? How do I maximize the input that's going into that field? It's, just incredible that we can continue to see that growth pattern and that adoption across our AOR and also, across the country. John Deere is very well positioned to continue to do that across multiple pieces of equipment, whether that's on a sprayer or on a planter, on a baler behind us, just all kinds of different opportunities to continue to measure and get quality data off these machines. I
mean, and not even just the technology. I feel like a very valuable component of Deere and how they run their operation is just the relationships that they build with everyone. As I feel like that's something that customers just always come in and say I've been working with so-and-so and for so many years, and they've raised or been with me with my kids and seen them grow in their personal lives, let alone in their agricultural lives. I think it's just cool to see that crossover of building relationships and also the advancement of the technology or the changes in the farm operation as life changes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's that, certainly a good stickiness with John Deere and loyalty with John Deere. We at 21st Century need to make sure we continue to promote that because, there are competitors in the market, but Deere has definitely positioned themselves well as a worldwide company to know that if something has worked in one particular area, maybe that can work in our area in Eastern Colorado, Western Nebraska, and Eastern Wyoming. And we can learn from other farmers worldwide, which is incredible.
It's basically just a large database where we can take certain aspects and improve in the areas that are similar. Yeah,
definitely look forward to seeing more continued advancements from John Deere. Just the different technology pieces that are across those pieces of equipment is exciting for us as 21st Century to continue to promote those and find the right customers that can adopt those pieces of technology, because some things maybe aren't for every customer, but I think a lot of them are for every customer. And finding that right time to adopt and the right time to integrate with those technologies is key.
I think it's very fun for us too, because we get to see the new gadgets that they come out with or the new features that weren't on the previous model, and just seeing, the evolution of what it was the year before, or the continuous changes to make it easier for the users, make it easier for everyone. And
John Deere does a good job of training us as a dealer and making us aware of those, and like you were talking about, and that's cool to see. We were both at a training in Iowa where we saw turn automation across multiple pieces of equipment. And that really just highlights the capabilities that Deere has to integrate a single solution across multiple platforms. And that's just really cool to see and great to be a part of.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. A lot of growth.
Yeah. What's one more thing about John Deere that you would like to add?
Yeah, sure. Maybe one final thing I'll add is that, John Deere is an American company, started in Moline, Illinois, and has spread across the United States. And it's really cool to see the machines still built here, even though they're shipped overseas and to many parts of the United States. But at the end of the day, an American company that we can work with and have close ties to within the United States.
And that's very different compared to a lot of our competitors who are overseas or just not founded and assembled in the United States as well.
Yes.
Thank you for watching the Farmcast. Like, subscribe, and let us know why you choose John Deere.